everyone, I am back and I want to tell you a little bit more about oil pastels. We're busy with pastels, a series in pastels, and I want to talk a little bit about what other kinds of pastels you can find. So we've done a video on soft pastels, soft oil pastels I should say, and it's important that we differentiate because chalk pastels are also called soft pastels. But there's a new range of pastels on the market called soft oil pastels, and these you can blend. They're very pliable. You can use them in pasto, which is something new to the oil pastel market, or relatively new to the oil pastel market. Now today I want to talk about actual oil pastels, but before I get to that I just want to talk about a couple of other options you have on the market, and I'll do something about that a little later on. For now I'm just going to start on it to introduce you to the full range of pastels that you get. So what I have here are my water-soluble oil pastels. They are oil pastels, but they are water-soluble. So Derwent comes out with a brilliant product called the Art Bar, and the Derwent Art Bars are fantastic. They are also pricey because they're Derwent. Reeves has a water-soluble oil pastel. Here you've got a Reeves one. This is Faber-Castell, the Aquarelle stick. Faber-Castell has one. And then I have, what else do I have here? Let's want to see. So those are your artist quality water-soluble oil pastels that you get. Then you also have a craft range, and again Faber-Castell pretty much takes the lead in these with the gelatos range. So Faber-Castell gelatos, I've got a set here. Those are just my sort of overrun set. So there's a set of Faber-Castell gelatos. They have more colors than these. These are the ones I have. And then there are the cheaper ranges, and the same thing. They are normally called silky crayons, and they are developed for children's ranges, but I found that they are brilliant. So I use them interchangeably with my gelatos. So here are the Colorix by Amos silky crayons, and again they are oil pastels, very soft oil pastels, but also water soluble. Then you have other products on the market that are similar, slightly different. I have these solid poster paints that are still very much like a oil pastel, which is water soluble. Let me pull this out to show you. And here they are. These are the metallics, which is why I added them to my set, but still a water soluble, well, still an oil pastel, and then on top of that water soluble. I am going to do a couple of swatches for you so that you can see. I've started on this one with the previous video, and I'm just going to continue working on this. So this is the Derwent. Let me use another piece. Like this color. Okay, so this is Derwent Art Bar, and it is oil pastel, blends like an oil pastel, but it will also lift and dissolve in water so that you can paint it. Lovely, lovely product. I am a bit of a Derwent fan, I have to be honest, and love the products. So here's Reeves. And again, you can see it acts like a oil pastel, but this is not a water soluble one. It's in the wrong place. I'm quite sure I had that one in the wrong place. That one would not dissolve here. There you go. There's a dissolvable one. I need to get that one in another set. It's in the wrong set here. Okay. Then, which one did I miss? The Faber-Castell. Here's a Faber-Castell one. Again, oil pastel, but water soluble. Then let's go to the gelatos. Here's my gelatos. Oil pastel. Oops, my brush is very dirty. But water soluble, it'll lift. You will see it doesn't lift quite as easily as the others do. Let me choose another stick. This one lifts better than the pink that didn't it? Okay. So those are the, let me just put this aside. Shall I just call them the more expensive ranges? Then I'm going to come in with a pretty inexpensive Amos one. Let me do this. Lovely, lovely bright colors. The intensity of those colors are fantastic. And again, you will see it lifts as easily as any of the others did, doesn't it? Beautiful product. So how does this then compare to that poster paint one? Let's add that one here as well, just to make sure that we show you all of these. There's your poster paint one. Again, equally blendable, and I think of all of them, this one is the most reluctant to lift with water, but still lifts beautifully. So those are your water-soluble oil pastel ranges, and I did include a bit of a wider selection, I think, but yeah, I think it's important to know the cheaper versions that are out there as well as the more expensive versions. So next we are going to be looking at the actual oil pastels. Okay, so let's talk about oil pastels, traditional oil pastels. I have a rather extensive range here, which is kind of odd since this is probably my least favorite medium. Although I'm warming up to it, I will say I'm warming up to it. I have reefs here, and let me pull this over. Pastels are brilliant on black paper and white paper, so that's fantastic. The fantastic thing about pastels. So this is a dark blue, and you can still see it's wonderful on the color. That's reefs, and of course they can blend, and you don't have to use your finger. It's just me. I love getting my fingers in there. This one is Stedler. What else have I got here? I have Rolf's. Let me not use brown. That's very dull. Let me come in with this orange one. Yellowish, orange. What color is this? It doesn't say. You can decide for yourself. Okay, that's Rolf's. I have some cheap ones that I don't even know where I got these from. They're called Color Run. Obviously not a brand name thing. Oh, Delhi. It's by Delhi. They actually have numbers, C202, which is always a good indication when they come with numbers. Oh, it's a good color. Not bad. Not bad. I think, yeah, not bad. Let's leave it at that. What have I not yet tested here? So those are your, I think that's the range that I have here. Trying to see very quickly because mine are all messed up, you saw. The idea was to arrange them by color, and they were arranged by color, and then the little drawer dropped, and now there's no arrangement whatsoever. Anyways, life happens, and there are more important things than rearranging pastels in color sets, so whatever. I am going to quickly show you a couple of things you can do with oil pastel. So if you layer this rather thick. I'm literally just getting it on there, right? Now, I could essentially come in with, I've just got these art tools from Keep Smiling. I could effectively come in with something like this, and I could do a bit of graffiti, scratching into this, and that's a nice characteristic of your oil pastels. So something to bear in mind. So lovely thing to do. How blendable are they? They are rather blendable. This is my crimson from the previous pastels that I showed you, the water-soluble ones, where this one wasn't water-soluble. Now, if I were to add color over color, these would blend beautifully. Just see that fantastic new color I am able to achieve by blending color over color. But on the topic of blending, I think it's also important to know that you can soften the oils, the waxes inside these crayons. And when I use these two words interchangeably, it's because I have no technical knowledge of how these things are made. I know some of them are wax-based and some of them are oil-based, and I can't tell you which is which, and I'm quite sure if you want to, you can do the research and find this out. I've never attempted to do the research and find out. That's my honest feedback on that. Now, just a little bit of color on the paper. I'm coming in with these earbuds of mine that I don't really like. I'm using glycerine, just pure glycerine that you can buy at, I don't know what places, pharmacies. I bought mine at a pharmacy. I do still suspect you can buy it somewhere else. Now, oils will dissolve with this. Now, this is actually dissolving way too much. I'm cleaning this paper with this. Okay, that's a little more than I expected to happen. So let's maybe try to just blend and not lift. This does not seem to be happening. Always good when you do a demonstration video and the demonstration fails. Ooh, and the earbud fails. Lovely. I would not recommend glycerine for this particular brand then. Would another brand do better? Let's have a look. Let's come in with the Rolf's. Let's not use that same blue on the orange here. Well, this is better. You can see it softens and blends much better. Still run the risk of lifting everything, and that is not what we intend. Unless you want to use this as an eraser, that's not what we intend to do. So, what do I prefer? I have a couple of options that I prefer over this. I'm just choosing random colors to put down here on the paper. Let's come in with some linseed oil. Now, you do not need the artist quality linseed oil, and you can see mine's quite old already. Go buy yourself some pure linseed oil at a what do you call these? The hardware stores. They sell these. Paint stores will sell these for cheap, real cheap. Unless you want real artist quality, you want this to last beyond your lifetime, you do not need the expensive stuff. Okay, now here you can see it actually works better if I start with a bit of oil and then I go on top. It's a softer blended look that I get from my pastels, not that stripy unblended look, which is why I'm averse to oil pastels in the first place. Much softer, much more blended. Now, your coloring pencils, you can blend oil-based coloring pencils. You can blend with things like Vaseline as well. Let me use the same one. Why not? Let me just clean off the oil. So, if I come in with this oil pastel again, and I bring Vaseline, just normal Vaseline, Actually, it's not normal. This one is flavored and actually smells quite nice. Smells like a baby. I get the same results that I'm getting from the glycerine and the linseed oil, that it'll blend, but in my opinion it picks up too much of the color. I'll have to come in and redo, and again with the Vaseline already there, it's I get a better result. Now I'm not going to cover my page in Vaseline or linseed oil or glycerine for that matter before I start working on it. That's a little silly. So I've kept my preferred solution that I dissolve this with for last. And where do I want to work with this? Let me just go over here. Okay, so I'm laying down a little bit of color there. And what I have here is rubbing alcohol. Now, you get different versions of alcohol. Aside from drinking alcohol, which I do not recommend. Oh my word, here comes all my earbuds. Okay. Don't use your drinking alcohols. They've got sugars and things in it. So don't bring those to the table. But you have different kinds of alcohol products, like rubbing alcohol, which has a high alcohol content that you can use in your craft room. Now, yeah, this is the one I prefer. And when I use this, you can immediately see why. It dissolves and spreads the color instead of lifting it. Look at the difference here. That's the same color. This is lifted, that one is spread. This, in my opinion, is your best solution when working with oil colors to get a nice blended look. Aside from, of course, let's just do that again for comparison's sake. Aside from bringing a blending tool such as your finger and blending it like that. I kind of still prefer the alcohol, don't I? I don't know. Personal choice. They're all good. I'm going to quickly step back to the water-soluble oil pastels because I think there's something I neglected to say about that. You do not need to use the water solubility, that property. Water solubility, I don't know if that's a word. You do not need to use the property, the characteristics that they can be dissolved by water. You can use them as plain oil pastels as well. I've got my Colorix ones here. And I'm going to show you that I can... Ooh, that doesn't really work on black. Let's use another color. Here's a better color for that. Okay, so if I put this down, I can just blend as I would. Now, when these particular ones are wet, they are extremely blendable. Beautifully blendable. You will never get that liney, stripy oil color. Let me try that sentence again. You will never get that stripy oil pastel look with these. They apply fantastically. And very soft, very blended in to start with. But if I were to, let's do a really thick layer of this. I'm going to put a really, really thick layer down here. So now it is going to be stripy because there's way too much of this on the paper. Okay, if I were to use these water-soluble ones, like normal oil pastels, I could do the same things that I do with normal oil pastels. The sgraffito effect, the blending, the color over color options, etc., etc. I'm just going to put that down there. I can do all of that. Let's bring another color in here. Let's go with this. And I could blend new colors with color over color and stuff like that. I should clean this, but anyways. So you do not need to use the properties of water solubility. I've now coined that word if it didn't exist already. you can just use it as normal oil pastels as well. You have that option. It makes them extremely versatile. Okay, so let's create something with our oil pastels. I'm going to use the traditional oil pastels, not the other options. I have here a set of white charcoal pencils. It means they're all the same shade of white. There's nothing different. It's just 12 of the same. And I'm going to use this because I want to create this drawing on black. I'm going to stick to what I started with, just a very simple little flower. And again, I want to be working very loose, very lightly, barely touching the page. These charcoal pencils are supposed to disappear into oblivion when I'm done. This is a really simple little flower that I'm drawing here. Pretty much the same design, not pretty much, it is the same design as in the previous drawing, with the idea rather to show you what the pastels can do than with a focus on the actual art. So now that I have my design in place, I'm going to bring over my pastels, my oil pastels, and I need to decide what colors I want to use here. Now I am going to start with, I want to use some vibrant colors, don't I? Let me go with this. Medium yellow, this is by Reeves, the number is 120. I always include that information in case there's someone who's interested. And I know I should be, but I am less interested in numbers and names and brands and whatever it is. If something works, it works. Then it doesn't matter what the name is and what the brand is and how much it costs. If it's a good product, it's a good product. Use it. Now you will notice I am using the quality of oil pastels to be liney, and I'm using that to draw my lines. That way I already create some depth in the petal of my flower. I'm going to put that on the side in case I want to go back to the same color. Which color do I want to go with now? Let's go with something like this. I tend to pick the Reeves for no good reason. It's just the colors I prefer right now. Okay, so I'm going to go with a more orangey color here. And we're going to use that stripy quality to create the depth in the lines. I do not need to, let me show you. I do not need to frame it. I've been framing it up to this point. I don't have to. If I frame it, it's more contained on the edges, which is a different kind of flower than when I just leave it open-ended. Instead of putting that top line there on the petal. And now it sort of looks more like, or appears more like my flower is, or my petal is a bit more broken here at the end than when I've put that frame around it. And I can leave it like this. You can see both, compare the two as I go. Now, I've used a single color on each of these two flowers. But because oil pastels are grainy, liney, they leave these open spaces when you apply them. And I'm using that aspect in my favor to create that depth. That's why I'm working on the black paper, because it's going to create instant shadows for me, instant depth. Whereas if I was working on a white paper, I would have to add some depth. But on the opposite end of that, I would immediately have the light areas. Yeah, I would need to add some light areas, but the darks are there already. So if you know that about the oil pastels and you don't try to fight those lines, but rather work with it, then it is so much simpler to work with oil pastels. Which color am I going to go with next? Let's go with a pinkish color. No, that's a bit too too different. Something, oh, I don't know. What about a brighter yellow? Let's bring this cheap, no-name brand one in here. Let's see how that compares. I'm going to make this a more contained one like the previous one. It kind of holds its own, doesn't it? It doesn't quite have the pigment that the others had, but it's not too bad, all things considered. I should have put something underneath my page because my table is grainy and I can see the grain of the table coming through now. Actually, I like it. I'm going to go with it. So there's another technique that I did not plan. If you have a grainy surface underneath your paper, that grain can also work in your favor or against you, depending where you want to go with it. So yes, if you don't want that grain, then you need to find something else. I think if you compare this cheaper no-name brand with a Reeves pastel, it's obvious that the pigment is lacking in this one. So having seen that for ourselves, I'm going to go with the Reeves in the same color range. Now, it's going to be a little bit more difficult to put this one on top because paper quickly gets saturated, especially this paper doesn't have a lot of grain. It will quickly get saturated and yeah, the pastel will want to lift, it won't want to sit on the page any longer. But let's use that other property of pastels and just sort of impasto it down on the paper. We just press it down. It'll be there. We're the boss. It's not the boss of us. Okay, so pretty good. There's a huge argument in the art world to blend or not to blend. That is the question. The answer is yes, do, whichever. I don't know why we always want to make it either or. Blend when you want to blend and don't blend when you think you shouldn't. In this case, I don't think I should. I'm going to leave these unblended. But I'm going to show you just now when I do blend how I'm going to make that work in my favor. Gold. Yes, why not gold centers? What's keeping us from putting gold in the center of our flowers? Why not? Let's put some gold in there. Okay, so we've got that going. Let's bring in a bit of a lighter shade here. Just create some sense of light. On the edges of our pastels, of our flowers, on the petals, that is. You know, I've just framed that one that I didn't want to frame. Okay, never mind. It's done now. And you know, I said this is my least favorite medium. Can I just say I'm still having an absolute ball, because it doesn't matter what the medium is. If you are creating art, it is just, it's fun. It's fun. You can be drawing pictures in the sand and it's fun, because that's the game. That's how it is. It is absolute fun. So I'm putting a bit of shadow to the opposite side of the light. How much shadow do I want to add there? Some. I want to add a bit. I want to add a bit of shadow. So here we go. A little bit of shadow. Dark. This is just a brown. And I said I wanted to show you where I would blend this as well. So let me come in with a color like, what is this one? A blue gray. Let me bring this into the background here. And see, here we are, added the shadow. I'm not too concerned. I'm letting the two colors blend and become a part of each other. It's like a marriage. And if you do it well, it's a good marriage. And if you have the wrong colors, it's a bad marriage. But whatever, that's life. You just go with things. I like this marriage. This is a good marriage. But yeah, we've all had the little mishaps as well. And then we move on, don't we? Don't get stuck in your mishaps. There's a really, really good life lesson in that. Okay, so I'm creating a bit of background. And why on earth I didn't use more variation, I don't know. I think I got stuck in the conversation instead of the art. And now I didn't have as much of a variation as I would have liked to. It's not too late. Let me add some variation here. I don't want to do too much because I want to actually come in with another technique. Okay, so there's my variation, my background. Now let's blend the background. Oh, I need to get better earbuds. These are terrible. I'm using rubbing alcohol and I am going to blend my backdrop, my background with rubbing alcohol. I don't want to overly blend this. I still like the idea of the black coming through. But a little bit of blending with some rubbing alcohol just to spread it out a little bit more evenly than has been the case up to this point. Now, a little bit of pre-planning, and I would not have been working on my table, not have had to clean this up afterwards, but no, there was no pre-planning. Just jump right in and do whatever, we do that. Okay, so here we go. I think I need to get a bit more alcohol on there. And I'm just going around and round and round, blending, 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 until I'm happy. Again, not overly blending. I'm not trying to get all those lininess blended in. Maybe a little bit more there. Okay, here we go. I could, let me just say this. I could apply more pressure and I could blend more and I could do all of that. I don't want to. I like the variations. Variegated colors, and I'm not going to go that route. Now let me show you something else. If I bring in a bit of green here now for some leaves, and I'm going to draw these rather thickly, just properly lay down the color, which by the way I can do now again because the alcohol has pushed the color back a bit, and there's more possibility to bring color back into this. I'm going to let that leaf run off the page there. Where else can I put one? Should I add more? Okay. Okay, I think that's plenty. What I want to show you is if I now once again come in with my tools, my art tools, and then we just see what we have available here. We've got quite a few available. I like this pointy one. I can again come in and do some sgraffito into these leaves and add a bit of detail that I've not been able to add with those very blunt pastels. Now, how nice is that? It kind of reminds me of child's play, doesn't it? The kind of stuff we did in primary school. Only then we had wax crayons. I did not like those. Maybe that's where my version was born. I wanted accuracy, and those wouldn't give me accuracy. Well, not at that age in any case. Okay, so I'm going to call this a day. I'm going to leave this here. I just want to get rid of that little orange there. I'm going to leave this here. I think that is good, or good enough. And let's create a space to write the name. Where do we write our name? Here. We're going to write our name right here. So how do we write our name? We do the same thing. We use that ability to do this. And I'm just going to sgraffito my name in here. And there we go.